This empty chair represents the addict who died today, not knowing recovery was possible.
Hi, my name is Phil Leahy, and I'd like to welcome you to another edition of The Empty Chair. Hopefully, you've been watching all the episodes we have. I think this is like our 21st episode. If you want to get caught up, you can go to YouTube's, search The Empty Chair Show. You can get all caught up. You know that we try to do a different variety types of guests and so forth. And we try to bring something different every time. Last time we had the chief of police, time before that, Betsy Cody, who lost a son. Tonight we have something that I don't think we've even come close to having. We have a whole family that has basically suffered through addiction. So I'm going to let my co-host introduce him.
Hi, I'm Colleen. I'm an addict in recovery, and I don't know, I don't think we mentioned, like, the empty chair, it represents the addict who died today not knowing recovery is possible, and recovery is possible. Like, you know, like, we don't have to, like, die out there. Like, we can come into recovery and get better, and whether it's, you know, by ourselves or if it's like a whole family. And I just think it's like a beautiful thing. Like, I love doing the show because of the, you know, the variety of people that we have on here. We have a lot of professionals, but I love having shows where we have addicts on because they're usually, you know, friends of mine or people that I know, and I don't know, just people that I really, like, care about. So I'm going to introduce our guests. We have Adele, we have Kyle, and we have Megan. So I guess, I don't know, the first question I just want to ask you guys is, you know, how long have you all been clean?
And the relationship that you guys have.
Yeah.
Well, I'm the mom. My name's Adele, and I'm an addict in recovery as well. Very grateful to be here. Thank you. It's an honor to be asked to come on the show.
Thank you.
I am just a little over 3 years, about 3 years and 5 months clean.
Nice.
As of today. Woo-hoo.
I'm Kyle.
And you're her son.
I'm her eldest son.
Okay.
And I'm coming up on 60 days clean, and I'm grateful to be here.
Nice.
Thank you.
I'm Megan. I am the oldest of Adele's children. Kyle's my brother, and I am just a little over 60 days clean.
Nice.
And I also am grateful to be here. Thank you for asking us to do this.
Thank you.
Well, obviously we appreciate you coming. We've had people who, you know, with a family is affected by the addict, but this is the first time where we've had the whole family. Now, you guys have 60 days clean. You have coming up on 3 years?
Three and a half.
3.5 years. Oh, even better. Now, for those 3.5 years that basically you were clean, how did you deal with these two guys that weren't clean?
Well, you know, it's been a little bit of a rough road. I got clean, you know, like many people, because I had suffered for a very long time in active addiction. I'm really amazed that I'm here to talk about it because I was actively using for over 30 years. I started very young. So for me to deal with my children being addicts, I didn't know my daughter was. You know, I really didn't. She had, I'm surprised I missed that, but there was some issues there. And I had a feeling my son was, I thought my daughter had some isms, we call them, but, you know, when she was younger and stuff. I just was basically focusing a lot more on getting myself well. So, you know, my children are a huge part of my life, but I did lose touch with them through active addiction. You know, there was a boundary set in place by them towards me, and that's understandable because they have to protect themselves.
Did you guys have to lean on each other when she was still out there?
A lot, yeah.
Depend on each other?
Yeah, definitely when we were younger.
Yeah.
And a little less as we got older and I had my own children, and my brother and I actually weren't in touch for a little while, so.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you two a question that I know people that are watching are probably going to say, would be asking the question themselves if they were here. All right, you two were clean when your mom was using, right? How did it, now when you see what happened to her, what she went through, what possessed you guys to take up the the same trail that she did? That's a tough question, I'll bet, huh?
I'll start.
Yeah, you go.
I don't think that it was something that happened initially. I started down that road as a teenager, and even helping taking care of my brother and being the one who was around when my mother wasn't. I was very angry, very resentful, and dropped out of high school and hung out with people that I thought were my friends and weren't. And I got pregnant at a very young age. And when I got pregnant with my daughter, just before I turned 18, I put all the drugs and the partying and the craziness, I put that all down and grew up really fast and continued to raise my children and help my mother raise my siblings. So I had a good amount of clean years, I guess you could call them.
So what would cause you in the later years to go back to that life?
I think it was a slow progression.
Yeah.
It was pulling the wool over my own eyes, I guess, so to speak. It starts with little things, and you tell yourself you're not an addict, you're not your parents. Just because you came from addicts doesn't make you one. I can put down whatever recreational drug or alcohol that I was using down at any moment, and until you find that you can't, and you really you break.
The same thing for you, Kyle? Like how old did you started using? Was it like the kids you were hanging out with and?
Pretty much, I got into high school and I changed schools a lot, and I just wanted to fit in and hang out with all the cool kids, and I found out I was really good at partying. Yeah. So I took that and went with it, and it just kept on snowballing and it just turned into something bigger and got out of hand real fast. Yeah.
It's easy to fit into that. I remember I wanted to fit in high school too, and those seemed to be the easiest kids to fit in with. Like all I had to do was do the same, drink and do drugs, and all of a sudden like we were, friends. But like you said, like it just gets out of hand like real fast,
So Adele, you said you distanced yourself from your kids. How did we start to mend our fences? Because they must have been pretty angry at you for a while too, I guess.
I have 2 younger children as well, and I have grandchildren. But Kyle was really more angry, I think, than Megan. Megan tried to help me at the end of my time being out there in active addiction, and the disease, it's progressive, it's fatal, and I just couldn't stop. I couldn't stop at the very end, and she took me into her home. And within 5 days, she threw me out. So she was like, "You've got to go."
I commend you for lasting 5 days. Good for you.
She, but literally by doing that, and I'm so proud of her, because that took some inner strength. I don't know that I could put my mother out in the street, and I'm not saying it like negatively. Thank God she did it, because that action actually saved my life. Sure. Because that opened the door. That was like the hardest bottom I've had. Like the thought of never seeing my, my children, my grandchildren, that was enough. Okay.
So you actually, because I've had a lot of recovering addicts come in here, and they don't usually say they quit because of somebody else, But is that what kind of got your mind going?
It was a catalyst. I had been, I had put myself in some really unsafe situations, like a lot of addicts do, and a lot of traumatic things happened to me. And something really horrible happened to me at the very end. And, then being thrown out of there, it was just a catalyst. It was all coming to I was done. Yeah. I knew I was done. I was just done. There was no way. I made a choice at that point, like I'm going to live or I'm going to die. Pick one, and I picked myself up literally off the curb, asked somebody else in recovery for help, and they answered that phone call, and they helped me. And I worked really hard to get where I am today.
So you hit that bottom, and then that kind of brings you into the rooms of recovery.
Yeah, launched me right back in.
Bottom, like at the end of something traumatic that happened with you that brought you into recovery?
Go ahead.
Yeah, I hit bottom pretty hard. and it almost cost me my life. I was out of touch with all my family. I was barely living. I was just surviving, going through the motions day in and day out. I lost track of days, weeks, months. I had no concept of time, and it all just came to a screeching halt. And even after I hit my bottom, I kept running. Like I almost died because of this disease.
Number one, what was your drug that was really? Was it heroin? Was it?
It was pretty much anything and anything.
Yeah.
And when you say you almost died,
I tried taking my own life.
okay,
I stabbed myself in the chest.
okay,
I hit a main artery. I cut my liver in half and broke 2 ribs. And I don't remember any of it. It's a foggy memory, and I have the scars to show it. And the doctor said it was a miracle that I came out of it. And even after all that, I kept using, and I kept denying that I didn't have a problem. I wasn't an addict.
How old are you, Kyle?
I'm 21.
21, okay.
And I just kept on pushing it down, denying it. And 2 months ago, I came to terms with it. I realized that I do have a problem, and I am an addict, and that I need help.
Yeah, you know, and it's not easy for someone as young as you to admit that, you know, the defeat of addiction like that, you know, and by what you're saying, I hope people get the message of just how powerful addiction can be, where you will go to the point where you almost kill yourself and still go back for more. And it is so powerful, and you know, thank God that, yeah, miracle. Maybe it's a miracle you're sitting right there. We're so
Absolutely.
happy to be part of your miracle.
Thank you.
Definitely.
Megan?
I definitely hit a bottom, and I'm actually grateful. I feel like my bottom could have looked a lot worse if it had gone on, if my issues had continued to progress the way that they were. And, you know, it just, my relationship with the father of my 3 children after 14 years was completely crumbling. And it was because of both of us. And, you know, he's an addict as well and has as much clean time as my brother and I do. And, you know, everything just kind of hit the fan, and there was, you know, a big altercation that I was not present for, but my mother was, and one of many, and it was a long time coming, you know, and that, with our relationship kind of crumbling, our family just slipping through the cracks, and that was because of our addictions and the toll that it had taken on us as individuals and us as a couple and just as a family in general. And that, when that just kind of all blew up, the rest of my life just kind of came right after that. And I remember just sitting in my mother's car with her at 3 in the morning, like crying my eyes out, just saying, like, not even meaning to say I need help, you know, not admitting to the fact that, like, I had a drug problem, like I had a serious substance abuse issue, and I didn't even realize I admitted it to myself yet.
Right.
And, you know, I did that by accident, 3 in the morning, crying my eyes out to my mom sitting in front of my house, and you know, that was it. And after that, you know, I went to a meeting and I got started in recovery, and I'm grateful for recovery. It gave me my family back. It gave me my mother back. And I didn't think that I would find myself in recovery, but I am absolutely grateful that I did.
Well, I just want to like thank you guys. Like again, I mean, it's not easy, you know, to just you know, kind of like bay a soul like on this show. Like I've done it like many times, and you know, we have like guests come on, and it's like, and I hope people like see this and they realize that like we're not just drug addicts. You know what I mean? Like we're people. We have stories. We have lives. We have families, and like the stuff that we go through. It's like none of this is like scripted. You know, we basically just sit down and we're like, all right, let's talk. Like, let's do this. So it's an absolute honor to have like all of you in my life.
You can look at Kyle and know it's not scripted.
But I mean, I just wanted to like thank you guys like for being here, so that somebody can see this and be like, wow, like here's a whole family that, you know, there was like damage, there was trauma, all this like stuff, and now the three of you are sitting here like clean. Like that is like it is like a miracle. It absolutely is. And like Adele, you know, I like absolutely adore you. So I have a question. So you've been clean for a while, you've been in recovery for a while, and you know, did you push meetings on them, or did you just kind of let them find their way?
I tried with him. That experience for me, almost burying my son, like I don't want to cry. But I didn't wear mascara though, so it was unlike any other. Like you know, I got that phone call,
right?
You know, in the middle of the night, and I did not know if I was going to identify a body or not. So you know, at that point, yeah, I kind of pushed a little bit,
yeah,
a few times. But like then I talked to. I have a sponsor, and she's like, leave him alone. He's got to come to terms with it on his own, and she was right.
Yeah.
You know, we all get there in our own time. And I'm just grateful, you know, like he's 21 years old and he's here. And, you know, I saved a seat for him and he's sitting in it. So.
It definitely is a miracle.
Yeah.
Now tell me something. Do you guys now work recovery together? Or is it kind of each of you have your own?
I think it's a little of both.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think it's a little of both.
Yeah.
I think we all have I think we all go about our recovery in our own ways, and I think we have the meetings that we like to go to, but I mean, most of the time, more than the majority of the time, I'm sitting in a meeting next to my brother or next to my mother or next to our cousin, and it's a good feeling.
Yeah, I would think it is. I mean, just seeing the three of you sitting together, I can imagine like 10 years ago, we would have never seen this picture.
There'd be a lot more yelling.
Well, 10 years ago, you never would have seen this picture.
Yeah, 10 years ago, you wouldn't have seen this picture either. Good point.
Very surreal, very surreal.
Yeah, now...
It is, I know.
And I know it's kind of weird because, like I say, I've never been an addict, but I've dealt with one. Now, you've been an addict. They had to basically deal with you. And then you being the parent, you had to deal with them. So you've really been on, well, actually, you've all been on both ends of it. But as a parent, I can only admit, well, I know what I went through. As a parent, even though you were using it, especially like the last 3.5 years when you went clean, it must have been driving you crazy that they were still going down that path.
I actually I wasn't aware of Megan. I knew Kyle was, but we weren't really close. There was some damage there and the relationship needed repairing, and it has been. We're still working on it, but we're close now. And you know, with Megan, you know, I didn't see it. I did not see it. And I kept asking her what was wrong. She was getting really thin, and you know, I can't believe I was oblivious to that because I'm pretty well versed. And you know, the use and abuse of substances. So I just didn't want to see it. You know, like as a parent, I still, knowing what I know, had blinders on because I don't want her to live the life I've lived, you know, and I wouldn't want that for anybody.
Now, you said you have other kids.
I do. I have 2 younger children as well.
And how are they?
And they are 13 and 11.
Okay.
A boy and a girl. And so far, so good. I can see some characteristics, traits, isms, however you want to call it. I can see some, like in my youngest son, some social ineptness on his part. Like he has trouble, you know, identifying with other kids, and you know, he's a loner, And like, I look at those traits in him and I become afraid,
Yeah.
you know, and I just,
Well,
He's got a
he
lot
was
of
the
recovery
same
around
way,
him, though,
so he was the same way, and I was, you know, I look at that and I'm like, oh God.
well, you know, when they're 11, 12, 13 years old, you do. That's when you do have to really pay attention. I wish I would have pay attention to what they're doing, who they're hanging out with, and you know, their characteristics, the way they change. Yeah, if you can prevent it, it's a heck of a lot easier than treating it.
There's an upside. They join me. I bring them
Oh, do
to
you?
my 12-step program.
Oh, wonderful.
Which I work, you know, pretty,
vigilantly.
yeah, I'm vigilant. I'm very vigilant, yeah. Just
Absolutely.
can't afford not to be, but they're aware of it. You know, they know there's a way, and they know that they have their mother back as well.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's a good thing.
Now, and how old did you say they were?
11 and 13.
All right, so you were out in the street when they were still pretty young.
Yeah, they're actually in the custody of their father.
Okay.
So, but I do have, you know, there's no, they were never taken from me. My kids were never removed from me.
Oh, good.
I'm really lucky to be able to say that
Yeah.
because they probably should have been at some different points in time. You know, but in between that period of time, I mean, my daughter's 30. I had her when I was really young. You know, there were times that I was abstinent too. You know, pregnancy is an
Right.
example.
Right.
You know, I didn't use when I was
But
pregnant.
clean and in recovery like you are today.
Totally
So
different,
everybody's
yeah.
clean, everybody's in recovery. What's it, I mean, we know what it was like then, you know, all the bad stuff. What's it like today? Like, how's life today, if you want to start, Megan?
Life's good today. It's been, you know, being a little over 60 days clean. It's still like an early process, but it's a process that, you know, I've never gone about you know, any sort of recovery. So I enjoy the process. I look forward to it, and it benefits everyone, you know. And
So is this really your first attempt at recovery?
it is.
Nice.
And that kind of, I think, coincides with the fact, you know, with the denial of thinking like I'm not an addict like my parents.
Right.
And I can put things down, and, you know, I don't use heavy drugs, and I mean, I could justify anything.
Sure
You know,
you can.
Absolutely.
just like any addict or any human being, really.
Yeah,
you know.
any human being, you're
Yeah,
right. I'm
definitely.
addicted to donuts.
There you go.
Can't be I never met a donut I didn't like.
I can relate to that.
Okay.
The pastries.
Now, Kyle, is this your first attempt at recovery too?
No, this is my third attempt at
Okay.
recovery. First serious attempt. But it started out good, and it keeps getting better. So
That's
I'm going
great.
to keep going at it.
That's great.
It's just nice to wake up and feel okay.
Yeah, I know.
Okay. I know not every day is going to be like great and perfect, but
No, I wake up and my head is, for the most part, clear, and I don't wake up feeling that I'm trapped to do this my entire life. I wake up feeling refreshed and okay and happy to be alive. And I'm
Nice.
grateful that I woke up that day.
Absolutely.
Adele.
Absolutely. Now, Megan, you have 3 kids?
I do.
All right, and what are their ages like?
11, 10, and 6.
Okay, now, after what you've been through, what your mother's been through, how are you towards them? I mean, are you nervous? Are you a little overprotective? Do you tell them about, you know, the experiences your brother, your mother went through? How do you handle the addiction when they're basically the 3rd generation?
They are, and you know, with my oldest daughter and my son, my oldest daughter is 11, my son is 10, and my youngest daughter is 6. And I'm definitely overprotective in a sense where I don't know if they're ready for, you know, all that stuff. And, you know, when I had my daughter as young as I did, you know, I was 18 when I had my daughter and 19 when I had my son. And I really did everything I could to kind of up the ante and do things differently and break cycles and just, you know, be the mother that they deserved and be the stability for my siblings and for my mom too, you know. And I always wanted to be like The Rock and like, we're gonna get through this, just keep everyone together. and that I've really, kept them from a lot of things, but I know they're very intelligent and they listen to things, but we have talks all the time.
Good.
And
As long as it's communication.
You know,
Absolutely.
This is the part of the show I hate the most, because my friend over there puts up 3 fingers, says we only have 3 minutes left, believe it or not.
Well, I want to hear about Adele. What's
Yeah.
life like today? We kind of we missed out
Life
on hers.
is phenomenal today. I'm engaged. I have my children, my grandchildren in my life. You know, I know where I am safe, where I am not. You know, I couldn't, I'm blessed. I'm really blessed, and I'm really grateful.
Yeah.
And so, you know, even my worst days are better than, you know, anything I've experienced, you know, prior to this, prior to coming into, you know, a program of recovery. So I'm really, really, really happy most of the time.
Yes.
You have closing statements?
I don't know. Like I can identify with everything that you guys said, and I also am very grateful when I wake up in the morning. And not every day is perfect, and not every day is like yay woohoo. But I mean, it's nice to have like that freedom to be able to make choices, positive choices, like for our lives, instead of always like being a slave to, you know, whatever stuff, you know, that we were putting in our bodies. You know, like recovery is beautiful. Families like use together, but families can like recover together too. So thank you for coming on the show and showing people that.
Yeah, and I'd like to thank you, and I'm thrilled. I have the feeling you can feed off each other's recovery, and I'm just happy to see the 3 of you sitting there. I appreciate the fact of you sharing your story with us, and it's just been a pleasure to have you. And you know, I know it's only 60 days, but 60 days, that's a darn good start as far as I'm concerned.
Big stuff.
So, again, we thank you on behalf of me and Colleen and our All in the Family group. I'd like to thank you for joining us on The Empty Chair, and hope you'll see us next month. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
See ya.
Thanks.
Great job.
No.